Good evening. Just over a week since Mark Carney became Canada's newly elected Prime Minister, tonight he's been face to face with the man who wants to annex his country. Donald Trump welcomed Mr. Carney to the White House a little earlier. Their meeting, of course, was overshadowed by the impact of tariffs the president imposed on his neighbour. There were smiles and handshakes as they met outside the West Wing. During their Oval Office talks, President Trump once again refused to rule out turning Canada into the 51st state of the USA. But Mark Carney was adamant his country is not for sale.
Takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said that's the way it was meant to be. But I do feel it's much better for Canada, but we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security.
Sky's David Blevins joins me live from Washington now to talk us through this meeting. We were all poised, weren't we, wondering what might happen, David. But I think overall it was conciliatory over confrontational, even though Mark Carney was voted in on the basis that he would confront Donald Trump. But, I mean, he said enough, didn't he?
Yes, and I think it's fair to say Mark Carney's head must be spinning right now because just moments before this meeting took place, President Trump posted a scathing attack on the neighbours, questioning why America was subsidising Canada, he claimed, to the tune of $200 billion a year. But when the Canadian Premier arrived at the Oval Office, it was very cordial, a pleasant handshake, there were lots of smiles. And then when they got inside, the President welcomed him to a newly refurbished Oval Office, which he said had been refurbished with love and carrot gold. And then they got down to the serious business of talking about annexation. He commended Carney on his election victory, and the electorate then became the focus of that brief conversation around the potential for Canada to become the 51st state. Because when President Trump said it would be better for the Canadian people, they would have tax cuts, they would have free military, Carney turned that on its head by saying, actually, during the campaign, I've met with the people, the owners of Canada, and it's not for sale. But I think it would also be fair to say that the Canadian electorate would probably give their new Premier 2 out of 3 today. 1, for retaining his composure throughout this, and 2, for having a ready-made answer to that question of annexation. He played the obvious card. The people have spoken, Mr. President. But in terms of tariffs, he did allow President Trump to talk for quite some time without interjecting, and that does raise, of course, the whole question of body language today, because we'd lots to focus on in that Oval Office encounter. Mark Carney did appear to have his jaw clenched at times. We watched him try to interject 2 or 3 times. And at the very end, when Donald Trump said, never say never in terms of annexation, he silently said, never, never.